Mrs. Lawson thinks tsunamis are scary. Hashtag truth. Hashtag a tsunami unfolds. Trying to tweet about this book, fourth graders. Am I doing it right? I don't know. Welcome back, fourth graders. My name is Mrs. Lawson. I'm so glad that you're here today, and I can't wait to start reading about tsunamis with you. I know that you already have had a lesson with this book, but we are going to keep on learning about them today. So our learning intention today is we are learning to use information from firsthand experiences and secondhand accounts to develop our understanding of the text. We know we are successful when we can identify what a firsthand account is, identify what a secondhand account is, and compare the information from both of those accounts to answer some questions. So first we got to figure out, well, what is a firsthand account of something? Well, that is based on personal experience of an event. So when I was just tweeting right now, I don't have a firsthand account of a tsunami because I've never been in a tsunami. So that would be a secondhand account. It's based on the author, the person who's writing it, their research, but not their own experience. So if you weren't there, but you're writing about it, that's a secondhand experience. So let's look at our foundational skills for today. We are learning about the word satellite. So we're going to practice using a dictionary today because when we use a dictionary, it helps us learn different things about the word. So some cool things that it can do is it can actually help us say the word. If we don't know what it means, we can play that and it'll tell us how to say it. It's a satellite. Then it'll tell us a few different definitions, but what we really want to look at today is down here at the very bottom. It says that this comes from French, and that is what we're worried about today, that these are French words that we're learning about. So we know that a satellite is something that's up in the sky, and we're going to learn about those. And it says here from the definition, if this ad will go away. I'm sorry, guys. All right, it is a object intended to orbit the Earth. So it's going around the Earth and learning things and giving us information. So that's what the satellite means. But have you ever heard this word? What do you guys think? Yeah, it would be a memoir. And if you don't know how to say that, you just go to the Merriam-Webster dictionary like we've already done once. And it can tell you how to say the word if you're stuck, like memoir. Kind of has that little definition here. And then you can click it to hear it also. And if we go down, again, we can figure out, well, where did this word come from? And we figured out that it's also a French word, and it comes from memory is what it means. So if you're reading a memoir, you're reading about somebody's memories. Pretty cool, huh? So this will load. We are going to go ahead today for our foundational skill and read a passage with a bunch of words that come from French. So we have the Eskimo way of life. Who, I don't know if I could be an Eskimo. It looks like they have to live in the cold. So some words from French would be caribou, excellent, captured, fruits, all kinds of different words that come from French. All right, let's look at that vocabulary, fourth graders. What is this word? Scrambling, good job. And I put this picture here because, sometimes in the morning, if we're running late, we're scrambling to get everything done. And it kind of made me think of this guy. But let's look at how it's used in the story. Outdoors, people ran toward high ground. Some fishermen raced to the water, scrambling to get their boats out of the water before the tsunami hit. So what do you guys think the word scrambling means? Let's see. It means to climb or move quickly using your hands and feet. So you're moving really quickly and trying to get it done. We have one other vocabulary word, fourth graders. Well, if we take that ing away, we know it's monitor, so it's monitoring. So workers were busy monitoring damage from the quake when the giant tsunami surprised them, crashing right over the plant's seawall. Ooh, so what would monitoring be if they're monitoring the damage? And this is the picture. They're looking at all of these things. Good job, guys. It's to watch, observe, listen to, or check something, and you're doing it for a special purpose over a period of time. So you're keeping an eye on it. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get into reading about these tsunamis. Let me get my arrow ready. And let's look at this heading. Scrambling for safety. By now, the sky above the coast was dark. The sea was churning. Loudspeaker systems were blaring warnings again and again. Save yourselves. Immediately evacuate to higher ground. Save yourself. Did you know, down here in this text box, how a tsunami forms? An earthquake is caused by the sudden movement of Earth's tectonic plates. This violent movement displaces huge amounts of water, which create waves in the sea. As the waves travel towards land, they grow larger and can become deadly. And down here, this image shows the outline of Earth's tectonic plates. So under the water, we have a few tectonic plates, and their boundaries are down there. All right, let's go to the next slide. Did you know? Seawalls. Japan had used seawalls to protect villages from the sea for many years. Seawalls can make people think they are safe and stop them from evacuating. But the seawalls can't always protect people against the giant waves of a tsunami. So down here it says, parents rushed to locate their children. Inside buildings, people hurried to roofs and higher floors. Outdoors, people ran toward high ground. Some fishermen raced to the water, scrambling, there's a vocabulary word, to get their boats out of the water before the tsunami hit. Meanwhile, people with electricity or internet access were checking TVs and computers to get the latest news. The news was terrifying. Satellites high above Earth had captured images of the tsunami. It was absolutely massive. So what do the text boxes add to the descriptions of the tsunamis? Why do they have these boxes up here with the did you knows? Because we have those all throughout the text. Why does the author include those for us, fourth graders? What do you think? Pause your video if you need more time to think on this, fourth graders. But hopefully you figured out it's giving us background information to understand, especially on this page, how tsunamis form. We should know that in order to understand the text. So it's giving us those facts and those details so that we can understand what is going on in this story. And same thing here, it's telling us about those seawalls, information we might not have known to help us understand. Let's keep going. The tsunami hits. So if we look at our timeline up here, this is at 3:10 p.m. Friday, March 11th, 2011 in Tohoku, Japan. The first wave hit the coast about 15 to 30 minutes after the tsunami warning came. From a distance, people could see a huge black shape rising into the air. At first, it looked like smoke or a cloud. Then people realized the black plume was actually the tsunami crashing into the shore. Whoa. Did you know? Harbor wave. A tsunami is also called a tidal wave or a seismic wave. In Japanese, the word tsunami is represented by two characters, su, meaning harbor, and nami, meaning wave. So, kind of like how we're studying words that come from French, this is the meaning of the word tsunami, the two base words in it. All right, so on this page, we're going to focus on how are these real life boxes different from the rest of the text. So let's read the rest of the text first. The enormous waves, 128 feet in some areas, sailed right over the sea walls. Then the water smashed onto land, picking up everything in its path: cars, houses, boats, buildings, pets, and people. It rolled through villages and streets, turning darker and darker as it swept up more debris. So this is a real life Yumi's experience. Only about 20 minutes passed before the water arrived from the east. It was carrying everything with it: homes, hundreds of cars, and many, many people. Of course, people on land were trying to flee by car, but the water was much faster. It surrounded the airport in minutes. So here's a picture, and wow, this close-up shows all those pieces of wood. Oh, so let's answer that question. How are the real life boxes different from the rest of the text? What do you think, fourth graders? Make sure you paused your video if you needed to. Hopefully you realize, since this said real life and it's Yumi's experience, we just figured out that if they were there, that's a first-hand experience. So anytime we have a real life situation from somebody that was there, that is a first-hand experience. But the rest of the text, what experience is that? Or it's an account, right? It's a second-hand account. The rest of it, because it's from research. The author wasn't really there for the rest of the text. All right, a nuclear disaster. It's 3:25 on Friday, March 11th, and this is in Fukushima, Japan. A nuclear disaster. At the Daiichi power plant located on Japan's northeast coast, another crisis was brewing. The plant's nuclear reactors had shut down automatically after the earthquake alerts, and now backup generators were on. The generators were doing a critical job, keeping the reactor cores cool to prevent a nuclear meltdown. Workers were busy monitoring damage from the quake when the giant tsunami surprised them, crashing right over the plant's sea wall. Water poured into the lower floors, flooding the plant's generators. Workers quickly grew alarmed. If the generator stopped working, it would become a very dangerous situation. So here's a did you know box to kind of help us, give us some information. Nuclear power in Japan. In 2011, Japan had 54 nuclear reactors that produced about 30% of the country's electricity. The Daiichi plant, known as number 1, had 6 of these reactors. Wow, look at that. So right here we have quake. Hit Daiichi plant hard. Checking damage now. So that's kind of why I was hashtagging too during it, because they're giving us some real life accounts that people might have tweeted or posted because there's a hashtag there. Did you know? What is a nuclear meltdown? The core of a nuclear reactor gets very hot. In order to prevent overheating, a cooling system keeps the core cool. If this cooling system fails, the fuel rods inside the reactor can begin to melt and release dangerous levels of radiation into the air and water. A wave of destruction. Many people took photos of the incredible tsunami as it swept across northeast Japan. People from all over the world watched too, as TV stations and the internet broadcasted live images. So here's a picture from the breaking news, and it was live. This water coming in. Down here, real life, Rikuzentakata, Japan. Setsuko, a cook at a nursery school, ignored the tsunami warnings at first. Similar warnings came all the time, and the cook was a mile from the sea. Tsunamis never traveled this far inland. But minutes after the earthquake, a mysterious dark shape in the distance caught her eye. The tsunami! It was crushing toward the school. The powerful water could destroy the wooden school building in minutes. Setsuko and the teachers quickly gathered all of the children and raced toward a nearby hill getting them to safety. So we're at 3:30 on Friday. The water swept across land, and then it began rolling back toward the sea, carrying more debris with it. At Sendai Airport, it dumped hundreds of cars, trucks, and even planes. Prime Minister Kan Naoto, the leader of Japan, had set up an emergency command center in Tokyo earlier in the day. Officials began dispatching rescue workers, including 100,000 members of the Japanese Self-Defense Force, to areas hard hit by the quake and tsunami. So here you do see somebody in their rescue workers, the force helping them rescue people. Whew, that was a lot going on in that today, fourth graders. So readers can compare and contrast firsthand or real life experiences, accounts with secondhand accounts of the same event. So we're going to do that today. So go ahead and pause this video and get this Venn diagram drawn out with me. We're going to look back first at the firsthand accounts to see what did we learn from them. So we're going to start with Yumi's, and then we're going to look at the cooks at the nursery school. So pause that video, get that Venn diagram drawn, and then look through Yumi's experience and see what we learned, fourth graders. All right, hopefully you got that figured out. In this first account, what we do learn is it took about 20 minutes before the water arrived, and down here, the water was much faster. It surrounded the airport in minutes. So that is the first thing that I wrote down in my Venn diagram, which you are going to see in a second, fourth graders. So that's one piece of information we got from that firsthand account. What about on this page? What did the cook do when the tsunami hit? Should be down here. Said Suko and the teachers quickly gathered all of the children and raced toward a nearby hill, getting them to safety. So the two pieces that I took away from that was water surrounded the airport in minutes, and then the nursery school teachers, a cook, and children fled up a hill to get away from the tsunami. And then after we look at the first-hand accounts, we're going to look back for second-hand accounts. So we're going to look at the body of the text and see what did we learn from the author. So on this page, I'm going to give you a second to look back and see what you figured out. Yeah, I was kind of paying attention to the water smashed onto the land, picking up everything in its path. Cars, houses, boats, buildings, pets, and people. So the water was carrying a lot of things with it. What about on this page? Down here. Yeah, it talked about parents are hurrying to find their children. People ran towards high ground. Some fishermen raced to get their boats. So we've got all kinds of information from this secondhand account. We have that the water carried those boats, buildings, and pets away. Parents are searching for children. Fishermen are saving their boat. And then that last piece that we read about together, the power plant was threatened also. That was a big thing. So get a few of those written down for your secondhand account. And then we have to ask ourselves, fourth graders, did both of those accounts talk about anything that was the same? Let's look back. So down here in Yumi's experience, it says it was carrying everything with it. Homes, cars, people. Hey, we learned about that up here too. It says it picked up everything in its path. Cars, houses, boats, pets, and people. So that's something we could put in the middle, right? Because they both talked about that one. What about this one? The wave arrived in 15 to 30 minutes. Did they talk about that in both of them? It says down here, only about 20 minutes passed before the water arrived. And then if we looked back in this page, oh my goodness, there's too many pages. It says the first wave hit coast about 15 to 30 minutes after the tsunami warnings came. So both of the accounts talked about the same amount of time period before that tsunami hit, 15 to 30 minutes. We did it. We looked at first-hand accounts, second-hand accounts, and we compared them That was our goal for today, fourth graders. Great job. So your reading response today is, based on this text, did all the people follow correct procedure after the tsunami warning? Explain your answer using evidence and examples from the text. So I have a few pages for you to look back on so that you can tell us, did they follow what they were supposed to do when there was a tsunami warning? Have a great day, fourth graders. You did amazing. Bye.